Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia here, and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. Stage 3, Week 1 results. So, it's been an interesting week, and some surprising results, I think. Some surprising results, and some teams have actually done extremely well in their first week of the stage. But, let's go through our fixtures, then we'll look at the standings after that. We started off on Friday with the San Francisco Shurk in action against the Atlanta Reign. Now, the Atlanta Reign are an interesting team right now. Why do I say that? Because they're shaping themselves up as giant killers. Because, obviously, the last two games of last stage, they defeated the New York Excelsior. Could they defeat the Shock, though? Because that's a step further. They can't. But they take them to 5 maps. It's 3-2 to the Shock in the end. This was by no means Shock's best performance. I think Shock were a bit rusty. But Atlanta, this is their hardest week of the season, because the second game is against Vancouver. If they can just put in a good show, then that's actually a really good performance, even if they do lose at the end. There's a lot of positives to take from this for the Atlanta Reign, and it could be an interesting stage. Next up, we had the Florida Mayhem taking on the Seoul Dynasty. No surprises here that the Seoul Dynasty 4-0 the Florida Mayhem. Florida, still the worst team in the league. Just. Seoul? Seoul's a weird team. But it's been a good week for Seoul. It's just, they've got decent consistency against the lower teams. They just need to get some consistency against the mid-packs. Then you will see Seoul really push on. Next up, Guangzhou Charge taking on the Chengdu Hunters. Now, this one caught me off guard majorly. This was a 3-1 win for the Guangzhou Charge. So, Charge, they're so inconsistent. There's so many teams that are so inconsistent. I feel like I'm repeating myself all the time, but it's true. The same with Chengdu. You look at Chengdu last stage, you would expect them to beat Guangzhou here. They didn't. So, that's a bad result for Chengdu, especially, they're on that edge of those play-ins. So, that's a bad result. That's the sort of game that Chengdu need to win. Charge, however, this is definitely a game they had to win, and they did so. And they did so quite well. So, that's a brilliant win for the Charge. Next up was the Los Angeles Valiant against the Shanghai Dragons. Now, Shanghai had a really good stage last stage. They are completely rejuvenated compared to last season. Valiant, however, have gone the other way. I had this opinion that the Valiant are slowly improving, and I think they are, but they do fall to the Dragons 3-1. Again, I'm not so surprised about this. Shanghai are a deceptively good team. They run the Sombra very well. So, I think Shanghai, it's looking really good for season playoffs for Shanghai, I think. Not automatic, but play-ins, definitely. Moving on, we had the Paris Eternal taking on the Toronto Defiant. This was another sort of surprise for me. I thought Toronto would take the win here, and they didn't. They got beaten 3-1 by the Paris Eternal. Paris are much improved this week. If Paris can play like they have this week, then they will possibly have one of their best stages. Toronto, however, this was a game dropped that they could not afford, really. Toronto need to win this sort of game if they want to have a chance at season playoffs. Not really good coming from the Toronto Defiant. Work to do there. So, next up we had the Boston Uprising taking on the London Spitfire. This was a win for London as I expected, but I wasn't quite expecting it to be as dominant as it was for London. It was a 4-0. Now, London looked by far the superior team on just straight out goats here, which is something we wouldn't have said about London in stage 1. London, what bugs me about London is terrible inconsistencies. Again, London are a team that will turn up when there's big stuff at stake, normally. Whereas, in the regular season, there's, less impetus to absolutely dominate, say, like the Vancouver Titans are doing. A 4-0 win for Spitfire, though. Very good win, and they need to win these sorts of games this stage. They've got Boston, they've got Toronto. I can't remember the other teams they've got. But they need to win those games because they've got 3 massive games this stage. 2 against the NYXL and 1 against San Francisco Shock. I think even as a London fan, you put them down as losses. So a 4-3 stage is what you must aim for if you're a London fan. A 4-3 stage and you've done decently. Anything else, and, well, anything less than that, you got issues. Moving on, we had the Houston Outlaws taking on the New York Excelsior. Now, this was a surprise. This was a very big surprise. Now, I expected New York to dominate this, and they didn't. A lot of DPS were played in this game. But Houston managed to take 2 maps off the Excelsior. It does go to 5 maps, but New York Excelsior win it 3-2. This is by far the most promising performance I've seen from Houston all season. And it shows that there is potential there. All they've got to do is play like this against the mid-table teams, and they'll bring out the wins. They'll start getting wins on the board. And that will be crucial for Houston's season. So, promising for Houston Outlaws. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Gladiators taking on the Dallas Fuel. This was not close. This was a 4-0 for the Gladiators. Sure, Four's Bastion was popping off something chronic on Paris. This was disappointing. From a Dallas point of view, this was really disappointing. I expected that to perhaps be a 5-mapper. I thought Dallas Fuel would really be up for that game, and nope. Just no. But Gladiators, this is good, because this kind of seals, for me, Gladiators as a top 6 team. Definitely. They're kind of on a level pegging with London right now. So, this is really promising for the Gladiators for their end of season automatic playoff chances. Next up, we have the Hangzhou Spark taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. Now, Hangzhou had a really good playoffs in Stage 2, and they have translated this to a 4-0 win over the Philadelphia Fusion. Fusion, disappointing. No other word for it. They are our finalists from last year. Need we forget? Fusion are on the edge right now. If they can't pick up wins, like against the Hangzhou Spark here, if they can't pick up these games, say they lose to people like Seoul and stuff like that, they're at a real risk of missing out on playoffs this season. Entirely. Not just the play-ins, entirely missing out. So, it's a crucial stage for Fusion. Big time. Next up, we had the Vancouver Titans taking on the Atlanta Reign. Now, obviously, very impressed with Atlanta Reign this week. They take a map off the Titans, but the Titans are the Titans when it comes to it, isn't there? 3-1 to the Titans in the end, but it was by far not an easy game for Vancouver. And, again, if you play well against Vancouver, it doesn't matter if you lose. As long as you play well and you make a good account of yourself, then you can be pleased with that, especially coming from an Atlanta Reign point of view or someone like that. Same with like the Houston Outlaws against the New York Excelsior. As long as you play well and make them work, then I think you can be pleased with what you've done. I think, despite it being a 0-2 week for Atlanta, I think there's a lot of positives to take from this week. And that's your hardest week gone. Positives for Atlanta Reign. Vancouver, still on the march. Seoul Dynasty up next against the Guangzhou Charge. Guangzhou, good win against Chengdu, but they couldn't translate this to anything against Seoul. It was another 4-0 for Seoul. Brilliant week for Seoul. Brilliant week. This is the sort of things Seoul need to do. The teams that are in the lower half of the league, like Florida and Guangzhou, they need to absolutely sweep them under the carpet if they want to be a playoff team. They need to just clear them out. And they've done that this week. 2 4-0s, puts them at the top of the stage standings. Not for long, but it'll keep them at the top of the stage standings for now. Very good week for Seoul. Promising stuff. Next up, the Los Angeles Valiant taking on the Chengdu Hunters. Now, a bad game against the Guangzhou Charge goes even worse for the Chengdu Hunters here. They lose 4-0 to the LA Valiant. That is not good from a Chengdu point of view. That is not good. I don't know whether this is people figuring out Chengdu now. Maybe. But that is certainly disappointing from a Chengdu Hunters point of view. Not much to say about that. Improvements needed between weeks. Valiant, though, big win. That is the sort of thing we need to see from the Valiant right now. Win those sorts of games, and you're still in with a chance of those play-ins. Automatics are a bit of way away now, but definitely a chance for the Valiant. So, the next game was billed as the game of the week. This was New York Excelsior taking on the London Spitfire. This, however, was not good, if you're a Spitfire fan. You know, I was saying earlier about terrible inconsistencies. Big example of this from London. London really didn't turn up. We have seen the re-emergence of Sabiolby this week, and he's made a difference. He struggled against Houston, but that was his first game back. Against London, he was dominant on the Sombra. And London know how to play against a Sombra, but they didn't. You know? They know, they've done it before. They know how to play against a Sombra, but they just didn't against NYXL. The peel wasn't there half the time from Fury, which is amazing because Fury is the best diva in the league. I don't think anyone can argue with that. Yet, Badosing was constantly getting picked off by Sabiolby. The whole team was then getting this sort of mental block. Oh my god, where's SBB? Where's SBB? And they just weren't walking forward. And it turned into a 4-0 for Excelsior. This was bad from London. Big improvements needed before they face New York again in week 3. Big improvements, because that was some of the worst play I've ever seen London produce. Damn, son. I'm being harsh today. Moving on, we have the Paris Eternal taking on the Boston Uprising. So, Boston coming in off the back of a bad loss to London. Paris, however, coming in off a good win over Toronto, and Paris are able to carry momentum here. They beat the Boston Uprising 3-1. This is a big win for Paris. That is really good for the Eternal. Bad for Boston, though, because that drags them right into the mire in terms of playing spots. They're right on that edge there, around 12th place. Paris, however, this brings them right back into contention. With the 2 wins this week, they're big wins for Paris. And something they need to do, and they need to do more often if they want to get into those playoffs. Boston, it's just small things to work on, really. Small things to work on. They looked good initially when they brought Fusions in Stage 1, but now it seems to have gone a bit sour. And I hope they can find some traction again. I really want to see Fusions do well, and it's not really too much of Fusions' fault. His shot calling is brilliant. Moving on, we have the Washington Justice in action against the Dallas Fuel. Exactly the sort of game you need coming off the back of a damaging 4-0. Dallas Fuel win this one 3-0. I don't think anyone expected anything different. Washington are a bit below par to the rest of the teams in the league right now. And it's annoying, really. You look at their coaching staff and some of the signings they've made and you think, Washington actually should be a fairly decent team, and they're not. So, disappointing, Washington, really. But I think it's just they'll play this season out now and regroup halfway between seasons, and hopefully they can come back next season and be better, because I really don't see Washington doing much at all now. Same for Florida. Dallas Fuel, though, much needed win. Last game of the week, which turned out possibly to be the game of the week, Vancouver Titans taking on the Los Angeles Gladiators. So, Vancouver, can anyone stop Vancouver? Apart from the Shock. Can anyone? And we're just going to have to leave this to Super and the gang to stop the Vancouver Titans from dominating this league. Because at the moment, the only team I see beating the Vancouver Titans in the regular season are Shock. And that's not till Stage 4, I believe, so... Gladiators give a very good account of themselves, but it's 3-1 to the Titans in the end. I think there's stuff to take away from this for the Gladiators. They certainly run them close, but Titans are always that step better against the teams like Gladiators, like Excelsior as well. And there's only one team I think that can better that, and that is Shock at the moment, and we just need some teams perhaps to click with a bit more synergy. Perhaps this new look from Excelsior with Sabiolby in the lineup might do that. Because I kind of want to see the Vancouver Titans... I don't want to see a team go unbeaten throughout the whole season. I don't want to see that, because I think it hurts competitiveness in the league, in some respects. I think everyone wants to see the Titans fall. We saw them fall in the playoffs, but I think I want to see a 1 in the loss column for the Vancouver Titans at some point. I'm not totally against Vancouver, don't get me wrong, but it's just what I want to see. Gladiators, though, a lot of promising stuff. A lot of promising stuff. Their 4-0 against Dallas Fuel was a very good result for the Gladiators earlier in the week. And I think you've just got to get these games against the likes of Vancouver and Shurk out of the way and forget about them for now, because that's the way, unfortunately, those two teams are. They're nigh on untouchable by a lot of the league. So, talking of the league, let's have a look at the standings. Stage 3, should we say, standings, they're pretty self-explanatory, with Seoul, New York, Vancouver and Paris all at the top, with varying differentials because they've won both of their games. And then you've got 3 teams on a 1-0 record: Hangzhou, Shanghai and San Francisco. And then you've got the 1-on-1s, which is the Gladiators, Valiant, Spitfire, Fuel and the Charge. And then you've got all the teams without a win on the board. That's Houston, Toronto, Washington, Philadelphia, Florida. And then the 3 bottom teams are the teams that have played 2 games and lost them both. So that's Atlanta, Boston and Chengdu. I would not expect this to stay like that. It's just the first week. In terms of the overall standings, not too much has changed. We got Spitfire in 5th now due to their loss against the Excelsior. I think we suspected this for a while, but there is a gap opening up between 3rd and 4th. That's between the Shock and the Gladiators. I think we know the top 3 teams in this league at the moment. Excelsior stomping London, pretty much explain that. I'd like to see Excelsior take on the current Gladiators. That would be an interesting matchup. But you've got the top 3, and then you've got the chasing pack, which I would say is made up of the Gladiators, Spitfire, Fuel and Spark right now, because Spark have played one less game than the others. And then you've got the tasty stuff, the 8th through to 14th-ish, that they're all very, very close, and it's going to get really, really interesting towards the end of the stage and into stage 4, because, it's going to get scrappy. It's going to get really, really scrappy. But one thing to note, have a look at that 8th place, Seoul Dynasty. They're on a 9-7 record behind Hangzhou, but look at their differential. If they can just get a few more wins, you're looking at Seoul being 4th with that sort of differential. So, Seoul, take those wins, because you could be right up there in automatic qualification. Right up there. And if I was people like Hangzhou Spark, Dallas Fuel, I would be worried looking at my map differential compared to Seoul. But I'm going to leave it here for this one. I will be back for the Week 2 preview. Also, in the background, there is probably just Overwatch League coverage. That's what I normally use. Obviously, the replay system should be live tomorrow, maybe tonight, I don't know. This is probably going out on the Monday, so it's probably tomorrow. I was looking to use the replay system as background footage. I don't know how that's going to work right now, and it would mean the Roundup coming out on a Tuesday. So, I don't know right now. But what I might do is I might bring Extra Look back, which will be incredibly good with the new replay system. But that is for the future, and maybe later on this week. We'll see how it goes. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.